Hello and welcome to AFTERBUZZ Genius After Show. It's Chapter 3, and whoo, a whole lot of emotional stuff went down this week. Stay tuned to find out what happened.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, welcome back to a rather somber episode of Genius. Nothing quite like life and death and birth and debt to get you started in the morning. I'm Joelle Monique, your host. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique and every week at blackgirlmarriage.com. And this is my wonderful panel.
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to be here. My name is Louiza Sharamatyan, and you can find me everywhere at Nobody Reads Anymore.
Hi everybody, my name is Elysabeth Alfano, and you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at DinnerPartyCHGO, and I'm the only one on the planet who still uses Facebook, but I'm there too at Elysabeth Alfano.
How you doing, guys? My name is Zach Silverman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zach with the CH Silverman too.
All right, guys, I'm super excited for today's episode. Super excited to have Louisa here to complete our panel. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's
you
so
are reading
exciting.
The book, Louisa, is this true?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and I know you've just started, but first impressions.
Honestly, if someone doesn't have a physics background, it's so relatable. He breaks it down, even the cast members, the characters, it's so relatable to Einstein and his personal life. I mean, Walter Isaacson, his genius by himself. So I'm excited to finish it.
Very cool. It sounds like we've been talking about a lot these past few weeks about how relatable the show is and how they break down physics, which, as we know, I don't do the science. Zach's got a little bit of background. He's helping us out along the way.
I do.
Patching in the information I don't know. But
it's okay.
They're really good. They're really good at breaking it down and making it accessible to everyone. I don't want to waste too much time at the top of the show talking about feelings and stuff because we have an amazing guest, but I'm not going to tell you until the guest is ready. So let's just jump right into Albert, who is trying to make some money.
Trying to make money.
Struggling.
Our poor Albert. He's actually trying to tutor. He's going around town putting up signs because nobody will hire him.
Before we even get to tutoring, he's following the very basic outliers of like, what, okay, I've graduated and now I send my applications. I'm going to be a teacher. And his other friends have gotten jobs already.
Smartest man. Smartest man in the world, and he can't get a job.
So don't feel bad, guys.
But it has to do with his professor. I do not like that guy.
Oh, no?
Yeah.
No,
man. The things I would do to him. I just not in a good way.
Not sexual.
Not sexual.
This show's just started.
No, I mean, we knew this was going to come. We knew, the professor said there's going to come a day when you're going to ask me for help, and I'm going to turn you away. And
he said he would.
You know what? I'm sorry. You got to put your ego away. Because, all he's living in is, he was talking about his character. What about my character? What's it going to say to my character if I give you a recommendation? And it's kind of like, you know what? You're the old. In with the new. He has this progressive movement.
We didn't ask Albert to do the same thing. We didn't ask him to put away his ego last episode. And he skipping class, not following the rules.
He wasn't being responsible as a student.
It's sign of the times,
so,
too. I mean, he knows that there's a game to be played, and Albert's not playing it. So he's getting a little bit smacked upside the head, but he kind of could have seen this coming. He was literally word by word forewarned by the professor.
He said
really
it will look bad to my reputation if I recommend you, so I think that's why he wants to teach him a lesson.
It's so bad. It's horrible because even when he went in the one interview that he had, the guy was like, "You're the most qualified person here," and it was because of the professor who gave him a bad recommendation. Who's like, "Sorry, we can't employ you."
Yeah, we don't trust you.
And then Daddy to the rescue.
Yes.
I was going to ask you guys, how did you feel about Mr. Einstein sending that letter of help?
Well, I could see from Albert his perspective that, of course, this would be god-awful.
Mortifying,
Absolutely
That
mortifying,
word
as you say. Yes. But I really thought, his father had such a cold heart towards him for such a long time, and this really showed that in the end his father was able to put his ego aside and really help his son when it came down to it.
So,
it's a little bit of a foreshadow, though. Because when I was watching the episode, I didn't. It took me off guard that first he sent the letter. I'm like, oh wow, why would he do that? And I thought maybe he's trying to not backstab him, but in a way kind of get his professor to really send him to just go home and be with his family kind of deal. But then, later in the episode we find out why he sent it, and I'm just like, oh god, it broke my heart a little bit. I'm like,
Let's just follow through that through line
of
his death. Albert's dad dies in this episode, and it is perhaps one of the most emotional and surprising death scenes ever. What really caught me off guard was when he was like, "I'd like to die alone."
Yes.
Leave
I
me
was
now
surprised
so I
by
can
that.
die
It was
alone.
So, it was so beautiful
What?
because he gave Albert the blessing to marry
Mileva,
Mileva, and I
yeah.
actually wrote down a favorite quote the main quote of the scene that is just so beautiful. He said, "Albert, you're a complex soul. If you find a woman who will abide with your peculiarities, marry her."
Yes.
And that's what he actually did.
Yes.
He ran to the train station and he wants to put a ring on it.
Yes, and so interesting that they decide to do that after the baby
Yep.
passes. So one thing I was going to say about the funeral scene with the father is poor Albert, he has 2 deaths at once.
Oh,
Golly.
that's
And I
so
will- yeah.
sad.
Overwhelming.
Fans, if you're listening and you know if that's historically accurate, can you please let me know? It was
Yes.
great television drama, but I'm like,
Okay.
there's no way you find out the same day your dad is buried
That,
that
I
your
want to
baby
talk. I want to
is
talk
Born
about that
baby.
real quick because the way that I guess the writers or the directors are portraying. I'm sorry, Albert is just like they're not portraying him to be a stand-up guy at all. And I'm sorry, like in the Jewish culture, first off, if someone dies, you have to sit shiva. Sitting shiva means you have to sit for 7
did not know
days
that.
in
Right.
remembrance of the person who passed. So he has 7 days where he has to sit where he can't go see Mileva. Also, the times. There's no text messaging. Hey, my baby died.
Yeah.
There's write you a letter a week later or so. Like
So
all these
hard.
things, and he has to choose between his father and this child that he kind of didn't
Yeah.
really even know.
And he has
It's
no
Well, he doesn't
job.
find out
That too,
until
yeah.
his father's already passed and they're already sitting shiva. He doesn't get the note about the baby. Historically speaking, though, at least from what I've read, and also shout out to everybody because I'd like to know if anyone has the absolute fact, it's unclear if the baby died or was given up.
Oh.
so
yes,
is this
I'm-
just a twist that
so
they're
I
kind
don't
of?
think
this-
it's proven till
It
this
hasn't
day.
been
Yeah.
proven to this day,
Yeah.
so it's uncertain if the baby
Interesting
did
that they go
die
with the
and then
death.
yes, that's what they wrote in. But perhaps the baby was given up because Mileva, as we
Yep.
see, of course, continues to have her
Yes.
desire for her own life, which is because at one point she considers giving up the baby.
Oh, she asked her best friend. She's
Yeah,
like,
listen.
"Would you
and then
take
she
over?"
takes it back. She's having emotional.
We'll get to the labor. We'll get to the labor. We're all over the place.
It's
because time is
juicy.
relative.
Yes.
But so his father passes. He does have to wait and sit. I think that maybe Mileva writes that the baby is sick, and
Yeah.
that's why she's like, "Why didn't you come?" I get that line later. She's kind of blaming him. I think that he didn't
Right.
come when the baby was sick, and that's her hold up. So let's go back to him trying to make money. So we see him fail at getting a teacher's job. His professor's not going to help him. Then he's trying to tutor. As you said earlier, Elizabeth, he's putting up the flyers. Everyone's like, "This is a new low.
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
Albert,
Trying to make money.
Albert.
And then for that kid to be such a dick. Oh
Yeah.
my
He
god.
hit him on. He hit him on a few levels.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, you're Jewish, aren't you? Okay, I'm gonna get you in that
Yeah.
one." And then, how do you
look
fornicate?
Jewish.
Yeah, you
Right.
look
Yeah.
Jewish.
Are you circumcised?
Yeah,
Right,
all
yeah.
those things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's like,
So
how old is he?
But that to
Come
me
on.
says it is so pervasive, and we're in 1901.
1901.
Are we? So
Yes.
we've got 30 years of
Ooh,
hatred coming down
yeah.
the pipeline. It goes to
Because the First
show
World
you
War hasn't even happened yet,
that's
right?
absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Like-
Which is not an anti-Semitic war. To my
No, it's
no.
after the war
Right.
though that
It's
the
after
Germans
the war that the
used them
Germans-
as a scapegoat. and-
Absolutely right. Yes, from their own destitution. But
Yeah.
so that just shows you in early 1900s that the hatred is pervasive. That obviously he's been taught that, this child. He's been
Yes.
taught.
We
that
even see
perspective.
that with the other professor, Philip.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll get to Philip.
we'll get to
too.
Philip. Okay, all right.
So then we see him get fired from that job because he's teaching the kid in ways that we now know is very. It's great to teach kids this way. It's instead of teaching them first the equation, we teach them why they need to know the equation,
Yes.
and then that way they can find a different way in. And Albert thinks that this is the best way to help this kid learn. His father is like, he doesn't know the thing he's supposed to know.
Yeah.
This
And-
is BS.
And
This
the
is
kid
beyond
said,
him.
"I want to basically learn about women."
Yeah.
And actually, Albert said his great quote that I wrote down again.
Because Albert
Please,
can speak
that's-
to
he
women
said-
as well.
He basically said, "Give me a chance." He said, "If you indulge me, I'll show you that mathematics is as elegant as the finest of women. And just like women, it might feel intimidating at first, but the truth is anyone can do it."
Yeah.
And the dad got mad, said, "You're supposed to teach my son how to pass algebra. You know, you're taking a big risk," and he got fired.
It's interesting. This is the second time they associated women's sex with science and math.
Yes.
Yes.
In the
Beautiful.
beginning,
So beautifully done.
with the car, he was making fun of his friend. He's like, "Hey, it's the first time you got something hot and
I
bothered."
heard that.
And I was just
Yes,
like,
I heard that.
It was,
I love that. It was so cool.
I really liked that moment. And then we have the Olympia Club, which is really dope.
Yeah.
Basically, Albert gets a different type of tutor, and he's tutoring basically like a
bon vivant.
Yes, I was gonna call him a dilettante. That's usually a word reserved for women, but if he feels a little like a dilettante, he's just like, I
fishy.
just like,
He's
you know,
fishy.
coming in.
He's a dandy.
And I think
Yes.
Zach compared him to, I think, Hemingway.
Hemingway,
Oh,
Fitzgerald, that
absolutely.
think group that they had together,
You
and
know,
it
I
was
think
around the
Hemingway
same
would have
time,
slapped this guy
right?
in the face, but I totally get what you're saying. That same like laissez-faire attitude.
Yeah.
The bohemian thing that you could just keep talking about. This whole show has
Yes,
that, and it's
bohemian
it's
feel.
the change of this rigidness of like this is how we've always known life to be. And granted, it's the turn of the century, 1901. You know, the change happens. It's nice. I love it. It's cool.
It's really cool. And he teaches them about sound in this really beautiful scene about how
Just-
sound travels.
Waves and all
So
of that.
well done. I want to take this chance to do a shout out again to Minky Spiro because I did this all of
Beautiful.
last episode.
Yes.
But she does such incredible things with editing and with light and with sound, and the way they approached that is so beautiful that even the four of us can understand
We
it,
loved
of
it,
how
yeah.
waves travel through space
Through
and time.
space and time,
And
yeah.
then that great question at the end of like, okay, but why do waves need to travel through something? I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I stumped Einstein.
But I will find out.
But
he
get back
says.
to me and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So we get them all together. They decide to form the Olympia Club, which is again very bohemian. It's about sex and women and all these other things, which is super awesome. Except that it's really kind of drawing his attention, and his friends don't want him to. They're like, I like how nobody wants this baby to be a thing. Everyone's like,
And no,
forget
everybody
about
wants
it.
out. Yes.
Yes.
Albert's
horrible.
mother, Albert's sister,
Yes.
Maleva's mother and father, even Albert's friends, they're all just like, who cares about this baby? Like, and they're all saying the same thing to these two people, but those two people still have love for one another, and they still feel the constant between the two that they need to be
He was
together.
in love with her mind.
And
They
that's
both are.
why that
Yeah.
scene in the train station is so moving. And again, the director, Mickey Spiro, literally stops time as she says yes to him in the train station.
Yeah.
And you go through these incredible
So
highs
beautiful.
and lows. Everyone's against having the baby and against their marriage, and then you see them come together in a twist.
And her eyes were lighting up. It was a
Yes.
beautiful scene.
We will talk more about Maleva and Albert's reunion, Alfred's reunion in a minute. But first, I'm going to kick to Elizabeth to introduce our amazing, amazing guest
Well,
today.
so we are lucky people
Yes, we
because
are.
we're Skyping from London live today. We have actor Michael McElhatton, and I think he's Skyping from his home there. Michael, thank you
Yes.
for joining us.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael. How's it going?
Hello, can you see me?
We can.
can see you.
We've got you, fine sir.
I can't. Am I meant to see you? Am I?
You are not. You are not.
Oh, I'm not. Okay.
I want to do a quick introduction because the list of what you do is ever so great. So all of our fans watching today might know you best from Roose Bolton in Game of Thrones. But of course,
Flair.
you've done some incredible things this year alone. So you've been in the feature film The Zookeeper's Wife, and then of course you have this extremely critical role of playing physicist Philipp
Lenard.
Thank you. Philipp Lenard, thank you. Philipp Lenard, the really anti-Semitic voice of the Genius series. So welcome today. Thanks for Skyping with us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So we all have questions for you. I'll quickly roundabout. I'll do my host. This is Joelle, and this is Louisa, and this is
Hello.
Zach. And we're all dying to know, what was the atmosphere like on set? Because you have this incredible cast, and then of course you've been working with the likes of Ron Howard, Brian Grazer, and again Minky Spiro. I'll mention that director. So what was it like on set and working with those people?
Well, we got to film in beautiful Prague, which is always a huge
Gorgeous.
bonus. And we were able to work with a lot of real locations and real sets and real buildings and stuff like that. So that was a real joy. And the atmosphere really from the get-go, set by Ron Howard and Ken Biller, was a tremendous one, a really collaborative set with all the actors, and particularly the makeup plays a huge role in this series, as you'll see, as so many characters age throughout the 10 eps. And costume, but it was we were all so excited by the story. It was a brilliant script and a really positive atmosphere on set, so it was a joy. Yeah.
Now,
It's amazing. I'll just say a quick note. You mentioned makeup, but you do have a bit of a striking resemblance to Philip himself.
Well, I guess maybe that was one of the reasons I probably got cast. He had a lot more hair than me, but yeah, there is a resemblance, and also well, I think I go from like 38 to 80 in this series throughout the
Wow,
eps.
Incredible.
That's exciting.
So,
Incredible.
and the makeup is extraordinary,
Yes,
extraordinary
they've
as
done
you'll
a
see it
great
as it
job.
goes
All
along.
the details are really extraordinary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned how positive it was working on the set. Going from such a positive, how did you prepare for Philipp Lenard, who is, for lack of a better word, a huge anti-Semite voice within the series to date? I mean, it's great to work on the set with all these positive figures, but then you have to come in and just be this SOB.
Yeah. Well, I had something great to say there. Now I've forgotten. He was a dreadful anti-Semite. But I read, there was a book called The Man Who Stalked Einstein, and I read that, and that was particularly about the relationship between him and Einstein.
Okay.
And read as much as I could, and really, I think the kind of hook for me getting involved really was Ken Biller, the showrunner, who said he's the Salieri to Einstein's Mozart. And that was a pretty good hook.
That's a good
really.
hook for you right there. Yeah.
But yes, it was. I mean, you don't play. You have to play him as a real man, and a man who was a genius himself, quite a brilliant physicist, and hugely regarded by his peers, and thought of as a genius by Albert Einstein in his early days, and by Elysabeth Alfano, his first wife. So back then, I think he probably was not the corrupted, twisted, jealous man that he became. And that's kind of his great tragedy, really, because he was a man who spent really the last 20, 30 years of his life consumed with jealousy and envy of Einstein, and did everything in his power to, have him removed from the history books, prevent him from getting the Nobel Prize. Obviously, he decided we'll find out. I don't know if we can we say what happens later in the series on this?
I mean, it's history.
Yeah,
People
we
know
all
it.
kind of know what
Yes.
happens.
We kind of know what happens.
Yeah.
But doing the anti-Semitic stuff was very difficult. Actually, it was very, very chilling.
I can imagine.
It's interesting when you read it on the page. It's very dramatic. We've seen it in films, but when you came to play it, it was quite chilling actually, because it was done so matter of fact by all those characters.
Yeah, it was just so out in the open in the time.
Yeah, and it wasn't done with the twirling of a machine or anything like that. It was just what these people believed, and that makes it all the more chilling actually.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a humanized
But-
character.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, but
interesting.
he was a terribly tortured, flawed man, who was deeply, deeply unhappy, and he really picked the wrong scientist to try and take down.
Yes, he did, yes.
I'd say so.
Yes.
I mean, he really couldn't have picked anyone worse over over 2 centuries.
Yeah.
And it's such a tragedy that he was so pro-German science and wrote this book Deutsche Physik, which just talked about the great German scientists of in the history of Germany, and he omitted Einstein and Marie Curie from the book, and that he couldn't see him as a German scientist; he just saw him as a Jewish scientist.
Wow.
Do you have a favorite fact about Philip? I mean, he's a fascinating character, even for all of his cruelty in his life. And I'm wondering if there's anything you stumbled upon that's maybe kind of lesser known that you found really interesting about the character.
And I would add to that about Einstein as well, since you were working in depth with both characters.
I think, with Einstein, look, there's so many amazing facts really about him. I think just the fact that he had such a battle and such a struggle throughout his life, being who he was and trying to be accepted and trying to break through that glass ceiling, a man with new ideas coming up against a deeply rigid system. He put his hand up and said, listen, Newton, I know it's 200 years old, but he's wrong. I'm right and he's wrong. I can understand
And I'm
this,
20,
but
Yeah, right.
yeah, so he battled with that. It took him 10 years to prove relativity. It was a very, very difficult thing to prove. It took him so long to gather all the facts and all the information. 2 world wars. He had me in Germany, and then when he went to America, he had Hoover. So he really had a great amount of battles and nemesis throughout his life.
And Hoover
I found that pretty fascinating.
Absolutely.
And about
Philip?
myself,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, how about yourself?
Oh, what did I do? I mean, I thought a fascinating thing was about, I mean, I love doing the scenes with my wife, and I have scenes with my son and stuff like that, where you see the man behind, the private man who is deeply tortured, and he had a son who died. And so many of those characters had. Einstein had a child who died, or two children that died. Maleva did. His second wife, Elsa, had a child that died. Max Planck's daughter died. My son died. All of those characters, all the main lead characters, all had to suffer the death of children, which is, in this day and age, quite shocking to us. I know it happens, but it was a kind of a common thing throughout all of them, really. So I did really feel for him as regards that, if you know what I mean. And but I had never heard of Philipp Lenard before, like most people, actually. So all of him was fascinating to me, really.
Is there anything that you learned about yourself on set? Again, maybe from Ron Howard or maybe from Minky Spiro, but something that you came to learn about the process of acting or about yourself as you were working with all these other wonderful characters and people?
Oh, I think you're always learning, trying to learn something. I can't think of anything particularly specific, but try and work with the best, because they will bring out the best in you. And that's why this job was a very, very special thing from all concerned, you know.
Michael, I want to know overall, how was it working with Brian Grazer and Ron Howard directing the first pilot, the first episode?
Well, I've never met Brian Grazer. I know he was out on set, but he wasn't there when I was there, so I've never met him. But he sounds like a lovely man. And I've heard him talk, and he's really, really smart. And Ron was, obviously highly regarded as one of the nicest guys in the business, but he was so positive. He knows his stuff backwards, and I was amazed at how fast he was when we were shooting. We always shot with 3 cameras, and he had really, really specific notes. We moved really, really fast, and I think of all the directors who worked on the show, I think he was, without doubt, the fastest. We did sometimes 2 takes, and we were done, and we moved on. And he said, "No, I got it. I know it." And that was.
He's a man who knows what he wants, and he gets it right away.
And
and he knows, and that gives you great confidence, because a director who knows when they have it and to move on, and he does. And I think the proof of the first episode certainly showed that, didn't it?
Certainly does.
And what do you attribute that to? Is it because he preps you so much in advance that by the time you get to the take, you really only need 1 or 2? I mean, was he big at sort of directing you heavily in the beginning and then letting you take it, or?
No, he wasn't. I think you're expected, really. You've been cast. You're expected to know your lines and turn up and have done the work. Really, you're not trying to work out your character's motivation at this kind of things. They're just tiny, minutiae, little things on the phrasing, or highlighting a different point or something like that. So you work really, 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 really fast. But sometimes, you work with directors, you might do 7, 8, 9, 10 takes. Sometimes it depends on the shot, but he was really fast in all of them, actually. So, but it was a joy. It was a joy to work with.
That sounds thrilling. I'm curious, as an actor, what draws you to these kind of like dark, cool characters
brooding
between
characters.
Bruce Bolton and Professor Phillip? We've seen you do. Is it
Listen,
what's
I
coming
want to
up?
play
Or?
nice uncle.
You want to play nice.
They just don't want to know.
Nice uncle.
Don't want to know.
I don't know. I actually think that the dark and deep characters are the really more interesting ones to delve into, I would think, as an actor.
Yeah, well, I suppose, look, the role I'm probably most famous for, obviously, is Bruce Bolton, and now this is a pretty significant role, but they're fascinating characters, and this is a fascinating guy. And of course, you don't play them as mustache twirling buddies. You play them as guys who believe in what they believe in, which is their nationality and their right and their education and what they're forging for. You have to play them as real, passionate characters who want what they want, and then you see the flaws and the insanity that led to his joining Hitler and his anti-Semitism and his blaming of many. I think he claimed that he should have had, in Ep 2 where he wants, and 3 where he feels responsible for Röntgen's X-ray, that he was, wants recognition for that. I think he claimed he wanted recognition for some of Marie Curie's discoveries. And to a degree, I can, a lot of those people who won those Nobel Prizes and scientists, and it still happens today, that they are building on years and years of work of other scientists, and they just take it to the next level. So it kind of is unfair that one person just gets goes down in the history books and gets all the money and all the fame. It is really unfair, and I understand that. I suppose the music industry and the film industry are like that as well.
Yeah.
So you can understand his frustration, but unfortunately that's the way it is, and you have to accept it. And he just was unable to accept that.
But of course, he does go down in history as getting a Nobel Prize in 1905, I believe. Philipp Lenard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he does get his own.
Eventually. Yeah.
No. I mean, he was a hugely successful guy. He was, highly regarded. He won a Nobel Prize and greatly respected. But we don't remember his name. And it's interesting towards the end of the series when the Americans were coming in and they were trying to get people like Heisenberg out and various people out to come to America to work on the bomb. They weren't interested in Philipp Lenard. He was an old fossil. He was past it. And people know the name Max Planck and Niels Bohr and so many of the other scientists that are in this, but nobody knows about Philipp Lenard. It's interesting.
And
he would be literally turning in his grave.
right now.
Well, I'm sure it has to do with how anti-Semitic he was. I mean, they brought over Einstein, and in what was it, the first episode or the second episode when they're like, Hoover wants you to come over here. Second episode, yeah, and they're like, but we have to ask you about your ex-wife Malavia and her relations.
Yeah, that's the end of the first step. Yeah,
and I'm sure it has to do something with how he was for Hitler and everything, and
Sure.
Yeah, Hoover didn't want to let him in the United States.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
So.
Totally, yeah.
Is there anything?
But they were all. I mean, Heisenberg was working for Hitler.
Yeah.
But he was young and he was relevant and he was a much younger man. But my guy was
rigid and old, stuck in his ways.
Yeah, jaded and old. And, of no use to them. So that must have really stung.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you'd like the audience to take away from this series that either from all the production values, which again I have to highlight are just so great, the use of lighting and editing. I mean, everything really in this series is so beautiful and top notch. It really does
It doesn't even
It's a
look like
10-part
it's made for
movie.
TV.
period
So
movie.
beautiful.
And
It's like,
you've been cut so well when you're in the scene pleading for your colleagues to write to the Nobel Prize people and sort of encourage them to go your way for that first Nobel Prize. The light behind you and the light on your face and the over-the-shoulder takes are really just so well done. So it's just a first-class series all the way through, but I was wondering if there's anything you'd like the audience to take away either from the content or the production values.
Well, I just, I really hope they are entertained by the whole 10 hours, really. I think it's a fantastic story, and most people probably know very little about Einstein. They know he was a brilliant man. They know he was a genius. They know he had crazy hair, but probably very little apart from that. And it is a fascinating life, and it is a brilliantly told story. And it shows Einstein, the flawed man that he is, with all his, all the different facets of him exposed. And I think that story alone, I hope really what it's setting out to do is to entertain and hopefully educate and maybe get people interested in science. And I think that's one of the really interesting things about it. When science is discussed and he is thinking things, you do lean in and want to know more. It doesn't alienate you. It's not some stuffy guy writing on a blackboard talking about equations you don't understand.
And that's a huge point that we've been talking about on this panel, is the fact that they're able to take this beautiful story of Einstein, of how his genius, and translate it into a romanticized bohemian story where we get to see his behind life, but still incorporate science, and we could actually understand it and take it in and not be this like, oh, I'm bored, I'm shutting off, I'm just not going to watch anymore. They pair the two together beautifully.
Life. I had no idea he was such a ladies' man.
Romantic.
Romantic. I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, he did.
Yes,
look, he did have a huge amount of affairs, even when in his second marriage and all that kind of thing. But the women he loved, he was with them. He loved them dearly, and particularly Mileva and Elsa were hugely important to the formation of that man and who he was, particularly science with Mileva in the early days, and Elsa without a doubt managed him and gave him
Structure.
the home and the structure that he needed, and cultivated that look that he had. I think she was kind of his manager, really.
So she was the one who had the idea for the crazy hair then?
Well, I think it was probably nurtured a little and stuff like that. It certainly wasn't pushed the other way.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, some, I think press have gone, it was a bit of an unfortunate opening. I thought it was a fantastic opening to see Einstein in that way, but not as a sleazy Lothario, as a guy who truly believed, listen, I can love all you women at the same time.
That was my
monogamy.
yeah.
Something that's been fun for me is to discover his passion for life. So yes, you see him with women, and yes, you see him with science, but he maintains this curiosity about every facet of life, and I love to see that passion come through, and that passion is what's really drawn me then circle round back to the science.
Yeah.
So I think they do a great job of bringing it all together.
Yeah, and I think that thirst and that hunger for how do things work. And there's a great quote at the start of Walter Isaacson's book, and life is like riding a bicycle. You got to keep your balance you got to keep moving forward to keep your balance. And it's like, don't be frightened of change. Don't be frightened of the future. Go out and look and ask questions. And it's a brilliant philosophy, really. If we could all adapt to that, would be great. The world probably would be a better place.
Did the cast have to actually read that book? Did the cast?
We didn't have to.
600 pages.
And some of us will.
There you go.
Well, before we let you go, I want to ask a really brief question that I've been asking all the actors who come on our shows. Everybody seems to have different makeup chair rituals. I talked to Louis Tan a couple days ago. He has a bunch of different playlists. Zoe Saldana is very chatty in the chair. Do you have a specific routine when you're going under all the makeup?
It entirely depends. I've never had so much makeup apart from this, because, as I say, towards the end of the show, I was in makeup for about 2.5, 3 hours.
My goodness.
So it really can depend on the time of the day, but generally it's having lots of chats and laughing and having a good time with the fantastic makeup girls, really. Sometimes it might be just chilling back, listening to some music. It all depends, but no, I don't. No ritual, really.
Shout out to Davina Lamont. She did the makeup.
Yes.
Yeah. You'll be hearing a lot of her. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Are there any other shows or upcoming events that you would like our fan base to know about?
What else is coming up that I'm doing? I've loads of stuff that's out. There's King Arthur, which is out tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh.
Yay!
Yes.
Exciting.
So
A
exciting.
small bit of that, and then later on in the year, I've got another couple of. There's one show I'm not going to mention again, but I did a movie. I did a movie which I'm really looking forward to seeing called The Foreigner with Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a cast.
That is,
I will see
a
that.
It's a thriller, and
Okay.
and it's directed by Martin Campbell, who did Casino Royale and GoldenEye.
Ooh.
So
Must be good.
GoldenEye.
very excited to see that. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, definitely check those out, fans. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been wonderful talking with you.
Very
Thank
thrilling.
you.
Lovely
Thank you
to
so
hear
much.
your Irish accent come through too.
love it.
So thanks for
Yes,
joining
no
us
more
today.
German.
Yes, no more.
No
German.
more.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good talking to you guys.
Yep.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. We've got first of all,
What a gem.
amazing.
Awesome.
What a gem.
So much
Oh my
information.
word.
So
Thanks for
humble.
joining us,
Yes,
Michael.
I
Oh
loved
my
getting
gosh.
the behind the scenes info.
Yes,
I loved hearing
yeah.
his takes on Philipp, who's really, a complicated character. You can completely understand, as he was saying, when you're seeing the tubes and he asks the guy for parts. You understand
Yeah.
why he feels left out.
His damage is
Yeah.
dated. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's building off of
And
his
because
own
science
work.
does build
That's
off of
all
others'
it
work.
is,
So
seriously.
yes, you can see the confusion, and if you are a sort of jealous, angry person, that would inflame you.
And I love the way they portrayed it, because it was exciting to us to watch him discover this moment of X-ray, to see the light reflecting off the paper, to see his wife be like, "What is happening?" And I've seen my own death.
Yeah, I've seen my own death. I
Yes.
wrote that quote down. I thought that was
Yes.
so just impactful.
As if her
like,
spirit had been
the
stolen.
first time. I mean, in essence, that's she's the first person to see like her bones through her skin, like in an X-ray, minus whatever Philip might have seen in the past. But like, to see that, and she's probably not a scientific person. I mean, she must be mortified,
Yeah.
like, that's my hand.
And kudos to the actress who played it, because I believed her mortification.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then so we get that moment where I feel like it's a moment of discovery, and you feel the impact of the moment, the change in history that happens at this point, and you understand why the laureates would want to honor him with this award. Like, you've done something great for humanity. And of course we get the shaving scene with Phil. Well, the moment he petitions his colleagues to say, hey, like, you can stop this. Like, he's a Jew, and you know he doesn't know what he's
not
doing.
even he's not a Jew,
even
though.
a Jew, which is crazy.
He has a Jewish heart.
He has
Yes.
a Jewish
He said
heart.
that.
Jewish
Yes.
heart.
I could not believe.
I was
this.
just waiting. I was waiting for him to be shaving, and then like just something happened, and
The
he
cut.
nick
The
himself,
scene.
and just
Yes.
blood come down, and like be resembling of something.
And the wife looked at him like, "What are you
Even
saying?"
the wife was shocked.
She was
Like, I can't
shocked.
The
believe
way
she
they
said
shot that in the mirror,
It was
and
beautiful.
we've always seen them like head on. They're always engaging, and they're always on the same page. And you see this stark fracture in that moment.
Yes, where she's perpendicular to him,
Yep.
giving him a look like something's
Yeah.
very
I don't even
wrong
know you
with
anymore,
you.
almost.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think
yes.
he like was
also
crazed.
chilling.
Yeah.
He was crazed. There was scariness in his eyes.
It was amazing. It was an amazing moment. Other things that were chilling. Poor Maleva's journey in this whole episode
God.
just
That's
tore
a
on my
whole
heart. From
different-
her father. Spring attacking her with job interviews.
Right.
When she isn't prepared, when she doesn't really know what's happening
And
yet.
she's at least 8 months, if not 9 months pregnant at
Yeah.
that point. Yes.
To having to travel by herself while pregnant and
The hotel
unwed,
scene.
and the shame of that.
And
when she
waiting
covered
for
her
Albert.
hand. She covered her
Yeah.
hand
When the
she was
hotel
like the
clerk,
hotel.
yeah,
Oh, that
he
was
noticed she had
saddening.
no ring, and
Yeah.
she felt
Shame.
so embarrassed.
And she has no word from Albert, so she's really left in the dark wondering. And her father's putting all of these negative thoughts into her mind, so she's just spinning. Her head's just spinning with, where's Albert? What's he doing?
The father had so much planned for her, and she just—that's how her.
Well, it's
life
interesting. The father is an interesting character to me because he believes in this ideal of women's liberation, but when it comes time for his daughter to make her own decisions, he's constantly cutting her off,
still-
just like he did his wife. We saw earlier in the
I mean, he
season.
got her that the job. He got her essentially a teaching job with her old professor. And that's just like undermining her.
Absolutely,
Completely.
absolutely. It's just an ideal to me. He doesn't live it in
No.
practice, and I really appreciate showing characters like that because I think there's not a lot, but there are guys who are like, I'm a feminist, and then have no idea like what living that life actually means. And I think that's important. And poor Maleva, as we say in the hotel, she has to cover her hand, and then we also get this moment when Albert finally does come. She said, "How can you be so careless with my heart? How you can't possibly imagine what it was like for me to travel." And Albert is so damn charming.
I was just
is.
saying,
Okay,
Yes,
that
yes.
scene.
he knows what to say. Oh,
I
darling,
know.
I was distracted with our minds together and all these.
But
things.
he believes it. I
does.
believe
He
it's
absolutely
true and
believes it.
genuine.
Yeah.
He's so passionate.
He's such a romanticist. I look. It's like looking through a keyhole into our future. I mean, that line when he's sitting on the bed, he's like, "I love you, Maleva. You are my love of my life," and it's absolutely, it's. Man, yeah, it touched
Yeah,
me.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
like,
it's
take
like-
me with you, Albert.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in love with you now.
I think we all are.
Although there were several people throughout the show called him selfish. I believe Maleva's father called him selfish, and then Maleva herself called him
his friends, I
selfish.
think.
Or,
His friends and
His
also
friends
his
and-
sister, I think,
do
or
you
mother.
think Albert's been selfish?
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Look, here's the
Do
thing.
you?
I don't think he was look, you want to follow your passions, but you did take two to tango, man. You got this girl on top. You haven't done anything right by her. You haven't been there for her
But
the whole
he's been
time.
trying.
Well,
He's trying to get that job.
but at
He
a
really
distance.
is.
And like, here's the thing. To me, it wouldn't be like just point blank, he is selfish. I don't think he's a bad man, but I do think he was selfish. You could have tried to get a job in Serbia. You could have tried to be there at least for the birth, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're a train ride away, which maybe back then a couple days, but still, like, you didn't do anything to be. You couldn't be there for the baptism. Like, you missed that entire child's life, the entire life of your baby.
Yeah.
Short
That-
life.
and
Short
and,
life,
and you
yeah.
left Maleva to deal with and defend you all by herself, while you were essentially out partying and like coming up with fancy ideas, which it's beautiful, and thank God you were thinking and we get to have your ideas. But man, you left that woman hanging.
This is
told
the.
him-
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say he told his sister, "I'm afraid to marry her because I think my career won't take off."
Yeah, I'm
Right.
afraid
I
I
won't
won't
have
fly.
wings.
I won't
Right.
fly.
I won't take flight. Yes.
It's a testament to who he is, and I mentioned this I think in the first episode where we see him slip on shoes. Again, we see him slip on shoes
No
again. No socks. This is a man who has the universe in his mind, but doesn't know how. Like it's known that he doesn't know how to tie his own
sister, I
shoes.
think,
He's so all over the place. I mean, it's true to his character. I get why he's doing what he's doing.
His sister said it best. If it's not right here in front
Exactly.
of his face, it's
And
just
that's-
not in his thought process.
No.
And that leads to selfishness.
There's
But
only so much you could have in this.
I want to finish up with Maleva's story really quick. So,
Go for it.
as we kind of spoiled already, their child died, and Maleva we mentioned that she tries to give the child to her friend and then immediately rescinds.
Yes,
wow.
and she's struggling with
Well,
that
she goes
emotional
into
burden.
pregnancy, I think, at that
Yeah,
moment,
She
right?
goes into
Yeah,
labor,
labor.
right that
Goes to
second.
death.
Yeah.
So she says, no, never mind, forget I said it. She goes into labor, and of course, we see the baby and we see her, and it's an instant mother connection. She's
Yeah,
just
she's
transformed,
so happy.
and it's beautiful. She gets baptized. The baby is sick. We hear what it sounds like whooping cough. Of course, we have no
Coughing,
idea
coughing.
what
Right.
it is for sure. But the burial scene, guys, destroyed me. I was done. I was out. It was to shoot from that low angle as if you're in the grave and just seeing, to see her go through all of that, have the baby, and then lose it. And then
Yeah.
still not have Albert there.
And the
to
dad
die.
thinking it's a sign from the universe to pursue her
Oh my god,
career.
a dead
Yeah.
baby is not a
He's
gift,
like,
y'all.
yeah.
Not the right time to say
he's
that.
like,
I'm
No.
sorry.
Yeah.
Nothing is going for
It was
her.
horrible.
She doesn't have, she doesn't have her father, but she really doesn't have a friend in the world. Everything is against her, and the burden that she carries, and again, played by Samantha Coley, just
Fabulously.
incredible acting.
Fabulously. So then Albert comes after he's Shiva for his father. He comes and grand apology, proposes. Guys, are either of them emotionally capable of making this life-changing decision of marriage at this point? Was it just me who was like, maybe both of you should
I think
sit
they should
down,
take a
a
second.
I
breath?
think it has
Yeah.
a lot to do with the father dying and giving him the blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh,
absolutely.
You know,
totally.
because the mom hated her. The mom called her, she's a nasty little witch. She's
Yeah.
not even Jewish. And he's like, what does that matter? She's a human being.
Yeah.
I disagree. I really felt, I'm so glad the two of you are not following anyone else and you're going after exactly what your heart wants. They've been waiting for each other. I mean, Albert also has every reason not to go towards Mileva. Everyone's telling him not to. He's got this bon vivant life. He's trying to follow physics. I don't think there were any good teaching positions in Serbia. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm thinking that's why he didn't go
Probably
to Serbia.
not, yeah.
And then Mileva, of course, as a woman, she'll never be able to follow her dreams if, she has a baby and settles down and becomes this housewife. But the two of them really feel that it's the two of them against the world. And I want to
It's a
see
good way to
that
look
develop.
at that. I can see
Like
that.
I feel that is such a beautiful ideal, and it goes along with Albert's bohemian ways.
Who's
but
Alfred?
I know the names are terrible for me. But then we see the reverse of that, which is if you're going to live this life with her, you have to have money and have a job. And that patent office is
takes the
every
job.
cubicle I've ever worked in
Oh,
for like 3
God.
months, and then I can't do cubicles.
The
guys.
God, I
anxiety,
cannot.
the music at the end of it.
Yes.
He was just like it was like he was back in the
It was death.
It was death. He was back in the
yeah.
classroom again in the beginning.
He literally hadn't started his day, and it was over. He was like, I don't
Yeah.
know what's
Yes,
happening
but
here.
didn't he have his notebook right there? So you could see, whereas all the rest of the bureaucrats are like doing crossword puzzles or whatever, this was going to be Albert's chunk of time to do his work.
There's all I was thinking. Yeah.
Yes. Let's do really very quick 30-second predictions
Okay.
for next week.
Ooh. Okay.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
And we'll just go around rapid fire.
Go.
Starting with Zach. What you got?
Okay. Cool. Next week, because we didn't really get too many flashbacks, I think we're gonna go back to the the 1940s with Einstein, to see a little bit more of his future and what's going on in that present time with Nazis and Germany and everything. Yes.
It'll be great to get some Jeffrey Rush back in there. So I think
Yes, I
that's
would love
coming
to see
down the
him again.
pipeline.
I
And
miss him,
as
yes.
much as I want that marriage, because I think they're following their hearts, it's going to implode. So that's coming.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Mileva. I want her to go back to school and pursue her career. Yeah.
Okay, right on.
I
I think that we learn more about Albert's and how he gets out of things. I've never seen anybody get out of more like blame than Albert. He's
Poor guy.
constantly wiggling his way out of bad situations to
squirrely side of
prosper,
Albert.
which is incredible. And I want to learn his tricks. Smart guy, taking lessons.
Smart guy.
Until next week, where can the folks find you?
My name is Zach Silverman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Zach with the CH Silverman2. I also have a website, thezachsilverman.com.
Hey, everybody, you can find me, Elysabeth Alfano, on Twitter and Instagram at DinnerPartyCHGO. And I have some interviews with Kevin Spacey and Jeremy Piven coming up. They'll be on my website. Yay, thedinnerparty.tv. Check it next week.
Hey everyone, I'm Louiza Sharamatyan. You can find me on Instagram at Nobody Reads Anymore and on Twitter at Nobody Reads.
Hey guys, I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique, every week at blackgirlnerds.com. Check out my interview with Louis Tan right here on the AfterBuzz TV network. Amazing, amazing person. Super great interview. My interview with Debbie Him Bell should be coming out tomorrow. And I interviewed my mama for Mother's Day for Black Girl Nerds. So
Yay.
all the Black Girl Nerds talking to their moms and how they handed down the nerdiness to us, I believe, this Sunday. We've been AfterBuzz TV. thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Buzz you later.
Buzz you later, people.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.